What's up everyone, Blade here, and welcome back to another video of 7 Deadly Sins Origins. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be going over all of Meliodas' weapons here and pretty much what I think about them, which being the best weapon, which being the worst weapon, or the ones that I recommend using over the other. Now, the first thing I gotta say here, all three of Meliodas' weapons are actually fantastic, including an axe. I've seen a lot of people downplay the axe, but I think the axe is probably the highest one that I've had a single hit deal the most damage here, and pretty darn consistently, though you do need to invest into it. It's still a really good weapon. So everything that you decide to use at the end of the day is all on preference, but there is a few that have better standpoints than the others, in which we're going to try to go over that. But I've done enough yapping right now. Let's get straight into it here and talk about it a little bit further. So one of the few things I gotta say off bat, after the last 3-4 hours, I am having a blast using the longsword, and this is probably my favorite preferred one. But before I get into that, I need to explain exactly what each and every one of them do. So we're gonna start from top down with the longsword, seeing that of course it's the freshest on my mind. The longsword immediately I thought was getting nerfed or got hard nerfed or something, so I didn't really give it the time of day at the time, and that was mainly just because I thought the other two would be better. Well, holy crap, that was just thought, because it was absolutely wrong. The longsword is more of a weapon that for a lot of people, you will use this as a min-max, right? You have to min-max this weapon to get the most out of it. You have to really put some time in for this weapon to get the most out of it, and it has a simplistic combo, but it is really reliant on you being on top of your cooldowns. So what I mean by this is the chain attack, for example, aka the normal skill, which is this one right here, is all going to be based on their cooldown. You can spam this based on the amount of haste stacks that you do have, which you will get from the Abyssal Dash. The Abyssal Dash can be activated twice, which it does reset its own cooldown itself, and this will allow you to get, of course, like more speed master. It'll allow you to get more attack percent here for at least your darkness attack, meaning when you get those haste up, you're going to be able to spam your chained attack a decent bit. The only problematic part about this is for the damage it does, which it will deal a lot of damage, you want to get more of this damage, you are probably looking at getting a couple dupes with the character. Now, he's insanely good even without the dupes. I think the longsword is still a good thing without the dupes, but if you really wanted to get the most out of it, this is probably one of the more intensive on min-maxing, intensive on duping, because it makes it so when you get a couple dupes, such I think it was potential 5, you get even more so cooldown. And if you're able to combine the cooldown that you get from your haste stacks to apply it on this, and then get the cooldown in general from the potential 5, you can spam this so many times that you can blitz down something in no time, which is just feels absolutely amazing. For anyone who don't have those 5 potential stacks, obviously they can still deal some good damage with it, but they're not going to nearly be able to spam it as much. But the cool part about this ult as well, or about the weapon as well, is going to be the ult. The ult is obviously going to be allowing us to deal more damage inside of our darkness burst, but the final strike, which is why you usually want to end it on a final strike here, is allowing said darkness burst to be removed, making him deal even more damage. Now, this is kind of crazy because this just means the character is just going to absolutely be a menace to society. And even though we are taking from the ult and immediately getting rid of it, it will allow you to deal the biggest amount of damage you can get, which is freaking awesome. There are 2 slashes that can deal probably like, I think 170 I had so far a piece, meaning you're dealing some insane amount of damage as long as you have your character provoked, or at least you have your character pretty darn well built. This is an awesome weapon. I think it's probably my favorite and probably the best out of the 3 weapons. But once again, this is kind of like a subjective thing overall. You just really need to know how to use the weapon. Now, the second one here, for a lot of people, if you don't really like the longsword's playstyle, because it does leave you open, I forgot to do the pros and cons for a second. Pros, absolutely amazing damage. Just overall, that's about it. Absolutely amazing damage, gives you that fast-paced combat. The cons though, you now have to run a healer or either blitz down the boss very quickly. It is min-maxing intensive, so either this goes down to duping, this goes down to like substats, gearing. It is very intensive on min-maxing. And then 3, you have to make use of your darkness burst very quickly, seeing that the passive of Speedmaster is taking down your darkness burst very fast. So those are cons, and we have the pros. Okay, then we have the axe. Now the axe is in a different way, and this one is kind of interesting because I do have a soft spot in the axe for myself. But after having some fun with the longsword and also retesting the dual swords, I do have to say that the axe is probably the worst out of the three. And this isn't because of raw damage, because raw damage wise, you can deal some craziness. I think one of my buddies ended up one-shotting Gila as well, and that's when he had the SSR axe and heavily started building his Meliodas yesterday. The axe is insane. It's really good. The only problem with the axe itself is it takes a long time to set up its combo, which can leave you hecka open for taking damage. For example, the passive itself, Strike Master, which is going to be this one right at the top. Whenever we have, of course, like demonic energy on here, the enemy will then be affected by this here, and we gain something called initial release. Well, initial release increases our darkness damage for this said amount for every time demon energy is removed from the enemy. So every time we pretty much are able to remove this, we get infernal release, which gives us 30% extra dark damage, which is why the axe does so much damage. Problem about this, right? With the skill 1 and skill 2, the skill 1 is allowing you to fire some projectiles. You can charge it, pretty darn interesting. The skill 2 is allowing you to do this circle dash here that absolutely does a ton of damage, and it can reset your cooldowns, removing the enemy's demonic energy. Once again, remember, every time we do that, we build up infernal release, which gives us darkness damage, right? Problem about this move takes some time to go ahead and perform, seeing that you need to charge it up. Meaning when it comes down to swapping around or doing your combination of different skills the right way, you might have a little bit of a problem. Enemies such as Gila are going to rush you down, which is going to be a little bit of a problem, or if the enemy actually has some fast-paced attacks, are going to end up hitting you. You do take a little bit less damage while using this inside of your charged state, but at the same time, you do take a lot of, it takes a lot of prepping, which is a little bit of a hard thing to swallow, right? Now, where it really shines the most at is going to be the ultimate. The reason being is because the ult absolutely hits like a freaking nuke, right? It resets all your skill cooldowns as long as we have 3 infernal release stacks, which is going to be possible, right? Because hitting this, we're able to go ahead and get anything for our demonic energies up, and as long as we're able to easily use this skill, we're resetting our said skill cooldowns and getting demonic energy again, which is in turn giving us our infernal release once again, right? Every time we remove something, we get the infernal release. So as long as we can do that 3 times, remove it 3 times, we're going to be at the highest stack for this in order to deal the most damage. Doing that's pretty darn easy. It does require a lot of course, prep time though, which is the issue about this weapon for the most part. But once you do it, you can hit some insane numbers. Love seeing the big boy numbers with this axe, but it takes way too long for me, and this is why one of the reasons it stays in the 3rd position in my opinion. Now we're gonna of course show off each 3 inside of the video as well, so you can see what I'm talking about exactly here. But if we wanted to do crazy amount of damage, we have to be a little bit more careful with this weapon, which is where it kind of starts to hurt itself a little bit more. Now the pros about this: big PP damage, gotta love it. Second pro about this, it feels like you take a little bit less damage and you can sit there and kind of stack up a lot of that damage on there. But those are it, right? Massive damage, take a little bit less damage. Here's the cons: really slow with basic attacks. A lot of its kit is very hard to swap through, so keeping those 3 stacks of what you do need to keep and keeping track of them can be a little bit of a problem. And then number 3, you can get interrupted pretty darn easily, because remember, majority of your stuff is a charge attack, or either are relied on hitting the same opponent multiple times in order to actually get the resets. This weapon is very notorious for that, which is a huge interesting part with it. Do I hate this weapon? Heck no. Still insanely good, but out of the 3, I definitely feel like it's in that wishy-washy area. Then we have the one that everyone's familiar with, dual swords. Obviously, we all know what this does. Get your burst. First skills are able to extend said burst. Second skill, you deal a lot of damage, and then the final attack gives you kind of like a life steal, so you get some health from it. And then the ultimate does a ton of damage, of course, off of these slashes, and it can sometimes hit a lovely critical hit, which as long as we have one hellfire, we can guarantee that critical hit, right? Which is absolutely fantastic. The only bad problem about this weapon here is this is more of the weapon that you're going to start from the beginning, right? It's graphically looks amazing, right? Feels great to use, but versus characters who are constantly in your face, Gila, things like that, it is kind of problematic because your whole point with the dual swords is to consistently stay on the enemy. That is how we keep our burst. That is how we're obviously going to get our heals. And when we do that, it could result in us dying if you don't have absolute insane reflexes, right? Which is a little bit of a skill issue on most people's part, but still, I digress. With that in mind, the kit itself is pretty darn good for the swords, but they are very reliant on your burst. They're very reliant with you staying on the enemy, and on the off chance that you get smacked, well, then that's your life. You're gone. Unlike the other two weapons where you can somewhat keep your distance and build over time, this weapon you can do everything fairly easy, but you have to stay on the enemy, which makes it a little bit of a problem. So the pros are, hey, extend the burst, absolutely fantastic. I get to heal myself, fantastic. I get to deal some decent damage as well, fantastic. Problematic area, which is the cons. I have to stay on the enemy at all times. If I miss my burst here, obviously I don't get the most out of this kit. All right, if I'm not able to extend the kit, can't get the most out of it too. If I'm not able to obviously hit my second skill, I'm not gonna get any healing. Meaning at this point in time, I need to make sure at all points, seeing that I don't deal the most damage with these said weapons on the skill 2 or ultimate, that I'm able to survive in the long run. Meaning you have to make every skill 2 count, which is a little bit of a problem for some people. But they're all having their pros and cons. Now, the real question here is, which is the best one? And I'll straight up say it to all you guys right now. For me, the best is going to be the longsword, and we're going to test out each one. Main reason I say the longsword is because when you do min-max this thing to death, or at least when you min-max it, you will see some insane results that you didn't think was possible. The second one that's going to be mostly used for me is going to be the dual swords, because they're very flashy. They give you sustainability while keeping that damage there and not putting you fully in harm's way. As for the axe, is going to be the last one because it gives you more damage than the both of them at times, but the only problem is you have to do a very complicated mix match of skills in order to really get it to go perfectly fine. And even then, you have to make sure you don't die before the enemy, seeing that they can rush you down and you can't really do anything about it. But now we said this, enough talking, let's show it off. Let's show some of our weapons off here. Let's see how they work. So I'm going to go to the menu each time to really do this. So you guys are probably going to see me go ahead and do this part here. Then afterwards, I'm probably going to do a cut, go back into it afterwards here, because I need to do it to resummon the boss. But if we go ahead and do this here, same team, swap the same way. We're going to try and do this the same way for each and every weapon, so you guys are able to see this as well. But let's go to here. Let's wait till it's able to attack us. There it is. Boom, boom, swap. And we're going to dodge this, hit with this, build up our gauge. And this is another good part about just this team in general. But now we have this here. We're going to pop this, swap characters. And from here, you do your 2 dashes and then just start spamming. That weapon is why I love this thing. Absolutely fantastic. Amazing for the longsword. But we're going to go ahead and swap to the next weapon so you guys can see how that one reacts. All right, immediately logging back in here. We got our axe equipped. We're doing the same thing as we did last time. So let's go ahead and summon. Gonna make sure we land all of these correctly, because I know sometimes I'd be screwing myself up here. But just to do this showcase the right way, make sure people can understand exactly what I'm doing here. Let's go ahead and pop this, pop that, swap on in, and let's dodge this, dodge that, use this here, poke. Still building up our burst gauge just as fast here, dot it out. And once we end up getting this up here, we're gonna swap, use our skill 1, pop the skill 2, and then here we get the fall in. That's already great. 1, 2, bonk, bonk. But as you can see, right, during that entire time, since we had to do a little bit of our rotation, it takes us a little bit longer. Fight takes a little longer, obviously. Still doing some decent damage. Overall, takes a little bit longer though. And now we have to rebuild our gauge, which is where this weapon does kind of suck at, because it does a lot, but you have to really hope on that one hit that you got that you land that crit, or either that you have your ult. That's the problem. If you don't have your ult, obviously it's going to be a little bit dangerous, but see, boom, tank that hit, boom, decent damage, right? Takes a little bit longer since we're charging up. It takes us a little bit of more time here, of course, and we just have to pray on getting our ultimates, which unfortunately we did not get our ult, so we cannot of course use it any earlier, which is another thing it kind of downsides on, because if I'm correct, the other ult as well, if I'm right, is 2. Let me double check though, just to make sure that I'm right here about this, which I may be wrong, so nothing wrong with that. Let's go ahead and check here. Immediately check. We're also at 3, so never mind, I was wrong there. But still, took us a little while for the ultimate, mainly because we were trying to do our rotation and we weren't able to get up the ult cages, which is where that axe does kind of do a little bit bad. But now that we went over those two, let's quickly go ahead and ship on out and show off the dual swords. All right, and loading back in here, we're on our dual swords here, and I'm actually going to stay low level, stay low health, because honestly, this works out in our favor, because this is how we can show off the weapon even better. But go ahead and get into this. We're going to do the same thing as per usual. Pop off the ult when we need to pop off the ult here, but go ahead and pop this here. Boom, boom, boom. Making sure we get that. Of course, we're going to take a little bit of a slap to the face. Nothing too bad about it. Hit this, boom. And actually, let's go ahead and do this here. Get away from that, because he will hurt us pretty darn hard. Let's go ahead and get to the side. Swap over. Pop this off, boom. And as you can see here, we're dealing some decent damage. We get our health back, we can extend everything, but the damage overall takes a little bit. Still does a lot of damage because of course my twin swords are actually cracked on out. But what you call it? Does a decent bit of damage, but it requires you to keep a huge eye on your burst. Same time, you get this lovely little aura around you that does some small little DOT damage as well. All of these weapons, absolutely fantastic. I do believe I enjoy the sword a lot more because of course, during that, I don't gotta worry about no sustainability if I kill the boss fast enough. Absolutely insane. All you gotta do is just stay on your toes. Now, if you're not doing that, then that's where things get a little bit risque. But for the most part, it's pretty darn easy to go ahead and do, and you can get a lot accomplished, which is freaking fantastic for this actual set. So overall, I like the longsword better for this character. May not be the best, but I definitely think it's probably the best in-game weapon once you go ahead and actually what's it called, min-max it to death. But you guys let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Do you like, which weapon do you like, of course, and which one do you think is going to be the absolute one to min-max in the end game? I'm interested. But for now, peace out.